Hey, what's up guys? This is 9Lives coming at you with another video. This is going to be a follow-up to my previous video called Call of Duty World War II Sniping is not overpowered. In that video, I provided what I thought was some pretty solid evidence to explain my point and prove that it's not overpowered. After that video, I put out a poll that said, is COD World War II Sniping overpowered? 18% of you said yes, and 82% of you said no. So in this video, I've picked out some of the best comments that you guys left on the previous video, and we're going to have a look at what you had to say. If you guys are enjoying this type of content, please take 2 seconds to leave a like on the video. I really appreciate it, and subscribe to follow along. So the gameplay for this video is going to be me getting 124 kills on Operation Breakout with the Springfield for the first half of this match, and then for the second half of the match I'm going to be using the Kar98k. I'm using the infantry division, which means that there's not going to be any aim assist involved with the sniping here whatsoever. The only way that you can get aim assist with the Springfield or the Kar98k is to use the mountain division, and I just mentioned that because I know a lot of players who don't quickscope in Call of Duty thought that quickscoping was an abuse of aim assist, but clearly it's not. The two are not related, and now ultimately in Call of Duty World War II, because of that misconception, aim assist is not standard on all sniper rifles in this game. Removing aim assist doesn't make it any harder to quickscope. It's the exact same difference as if they took aim assist off of other guns in the game like the assault rifles and the SMGs. Trying to clear out misconceptions like this before they turn into sniper nerfs is the reason why I make these videos, because it's really annoying to see players complain about snipers in ways that don't even make sense, and then the developers taking that feedback and making changes to the game that of course don't make sense because the complaints in the first place from the players didn't make any sense. So before we get into the comments that I told you we'd be looking at from the previous video, I would encourage you to check out both the previous video to see the evidence as to why quickscoping is not overpowered in Call of Duty World War II. And also, if you're feeling open-minded, I'd highly recommend checking out my quickscoping tutorial, because that's going to help you see both sides of this argument, and you'll learn how to quickscope. So let's get into the comments. Adam says, I know it will upset some people, but this is the easiest game to use a sniper since Black Ops 2, and it's not just the fact that it's back to boots on the ground, it's because the hitboxes are very generous and the ADS speed on the most popular sniper is extremely quick. Well, let's rewind and have a look at what's actually going on with the hitboxes here. So after I no-scope this guy, I look to the right and there's a guy running down the alley, and I'll freeze frame the last couple frames before I take the shot. Here it is. So you can see that I just barely missed this guy. I was very, very close, just about as close as you could possibly be without registering the hit, and so of course it didn't give me the kill. Now there's a very widespread misconception about the hitboxes in Call of Duty World War II being generous, and specifically for some reason being generous for snipers. And the reason for that is inaccurate kill cams and inaccurate bronze stars. So I actually made an entire video about this, but I'll show you just a short snippet. So basically what would probably be natural for anybody to think of the kill cams and the bronze stars in a Call of Duty game is that it's a constant stream of recording, just like a video, and then it's played back in the kill cams and bronze stars. But what's actually happening is the game is sampling player movements and player positions, and then it tries to piece them together later on to basically recreate a video which then gets played as the kill cam or the bronze star. So because the game is sampling player movement and positions and actually sampling at a pretty slow rate, when it gets pieced together, there's a discrepancy between the kill cams and the live gameplay, or the bronze star and the live gameplay. So that's what this example is showing here. In the bronze star in the top left, you can see that I missed the enemy, but in the live gameplay, I hit the enemy. So there's no such thing as generous hitboxes for snipers in Call of Duty World War II. The reason for that misconception is because snipers tend to move in their scopes significantly faster than somebody with an SMG or an assault rifle would move around while they're ADS. The sampling of player movement and position is not fast enough to pick up quick scope movements, and that causes it to look like the sniper has missed. By the way guys, if you're watching this and you're agreeing with what I'm saying and you think more people should know this, please take 2 seconds to leave a like on the video, because that'll actually get YouTube to spread the video around more, and more people will be informed. So a big thank you to everybody who's decided to leave a like on the video. I really do appreciate you. Now let's move on to the next part of Adam's comment. So he also said that the ADS speed on the most popular sniper is extremely quick. So the most popular sniper rifle in this game is the Kar98k, and it does have a pretty quick ADS. To provide some context, in the top right corner of the screen, I've taken the Kar98k's ADS speed and compared that to the M1903 Springfield, which is what I'm using here, and the Morse, which is the most popular sniper rifle for quickscoping from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which was the previous Call of Duty game that Sledgehammer Games put out, the same developers that made Call of Duty World War II. So immediately you can see that the Kar98k's ADS speed appears to be quite quick compared to everything else. The Springfield has a much slower ADS speed at 400 milliseconds compared to the Kar98k's 340 milliseconds, and then the Morse from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare has different scoping speeds depending on what attachment you put on it. That was something that was kind of unique to Advanced Warfare. So with the regular scope it was 384 milliseconds, the thermal was a little bit faster, 367. The variable zoom was the same as the regular regular scope, but the ACOG was more in line with what we see from the Kar98k now. So some of you may be saying like, whoa, why is the Kar98k kind of in line with the ACOG from Advanced Warfare? Well, the thing is, the ADS speeds of the sniper rifles for Advanced Warfare are actually quite misleading, and I talk about this a little bit more in my Sniper Secrets video for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, where I look at what you can really do with no scopes in that game. Because Advanced Warfare had a really unique sniping mechanic where if you scoped only halfway up, you'd get quite an accurate shot. Even if you scoped only a quarter of the way up, you'd get quite an accurate shot. So you don't need to fully ADS in order to get your bullet to go straight. Now, Sledgehammer Games removed this sniping mechanic from Call of Duty World War II, but the reason why I mention it is because you have to take the ADS speeds from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare with a grain of salt, because in a close quarters situation in like an actual live match, you really don't need to scope all the way in to be able to consistently kill enemies at that range. Whereas with Call of Duty World War II, you're forced to fully ADS to get any benefit of the scope. So even though quickscoping was probably more deadly in close quarter situations in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare compared to Call of Duty World War II, a lot of Call of Duty World War II players are still complaining that the Kar98k is too effective in close quarters. In fact, it's actually become kind of a meme to say that the Kar98k is the best shotgun in Call of Duty World War II. And to be completely honest, I can understand where those players are coming from. A guy named Brandon left a comment on my previous video, and I thought he made a pretty good point, so I'll read it out here. Well-structured video, but flawed evidence. I understand your views on snipers, but your explanation had inconsistencies. You kept referring to a particular situation where the average player is already ADSing and is catching the sniper off guard, but failed to mention that it is an unfair playing field. You seem to be oblivious of the same scenarios if you're both caught in a sprint, or even if the sniper is not moving nor scoped in, but could quickscope you before the average player could break off sprint and shoot to kill. He will land a few shots on you, but will fail to execute the kill since you're catching him sprinting. So this comment is talking about the evidence that I showed in my previous video to prove that quickscoping is not overpowered. And basically what I was doing is I was running around with the bar on Gibraltar, and I got a 30 gun streak with the bar, and I dropped a V2 rocket, and I was basically saying that if you're using an assault rifle or an SMG or any type of regular gun, you should be ADS before you see an enemy. And by the way, maybe I should have explained this earlier. ADS means aiming down sights. So you should be ADS before you see the enemy, because that way you can kill the enemies as fast as possible. If you watch professional players play, or if you even just watch some of the higher caliber players on YouTube, they're all ADSing before they see the enemy. At least whenever they're able to. If they're not able to ADS before they see the enemy, then they should know that the gunfight could go either way, assuming that the enemy is a player of equal skill. Somebody running around with the quickscoping playstyle gives all of their enemies the benefit of the ADS delay with the sniper rifle, because they're always scoping in when they see the enemy, not before they see the enemy. But basically what I think Brandon was saying is if both players are caught off guard, the quickscoper and the player using the SMG or the assault rifle, he doesn't like that the sniper can still be somewhat competitive there. So the way I see it, this is not a problem with sniper rifles, and it's not a problem with the Kar98k, and it's not a problem caused by the scope in speed. It's the sprint out times of the SMGs and assault rifles. Let's have a look at Call of Duty Ghosts and how quickly I can break from a sprint, ADS, and shoot my enemy. It's extremely quick. It's a night and day difference compared to Call of Duty World War II. If you guys are unfamiliar, sprint out time is how long it takes to shoot a bullet after you come out of a sprint. In Call of Duty Ghosts, there is actually a perk that you could use to reduce the sprint out time, and I think they need to consider adding something like that to Call of Duty World War II, or just reduce the base sprint out values for all of the SMGs and assault rifles, and maybe even the shotguns too. I don't even use any of those types of guns. I only like sniping, and that's the only way I like to play Call of Duty. Honestly, I find using SMGs and assault rifles really boring, but if they're gonna do anything to change the balance of the weapons in this game, it should be looking at the sprint out times. That's going to make the biggest difference, and it's going to get people to stop complaining about being sniped all the time, because basically what these players want to do is they want to be able to more freely run around the map and let their guard down and try and get from point A to point B and still be able to bring up their gun pretty quickly when they see an enemy. Because with the way that the game is now, you really can't expect to consistently win gunfights unless you're ADSing before you see the enemy. And I've seen a lot of these players say that they think the scope in speed is too fast on the sniper rifles in this game, but in my opinion, that's not the issue. The issue is that the sprint out speed for the SMGs and assault rifles is too slow. It needs to be brought up to speed with what it's been in previous Call of Duty games, like Call of Duty Ghosts, for example, the previous boots on the ground Call of Duty game. If Sledgehammer Games looks at all the tweets that they get and all the forum posts that people are posting and all the videos that people are making saying that the Kar98k is scoping in too quickly and that Sledgehammer Games needs to put out a patch to increase the ADS time so it's more balanced, that is not going to solve anything. Because as you can see in this video, I'm quickscoping just fine with the Springfield Springfield, which has a really slow scope in time, 400 milliseconds, and I'm still quickscoping people just fine because that's not the problem. The problem is it takes too long to shoot a bullet while you're coming out of a sprint, and that's what Sledgehammer games should be looking at. Honestly, the way it's going now, it reminds me of people complaining about aim assist on sniper rifles, and then, you know, they take away the aim assist, and then people realize, oh yeah, the aim assist doesn't actually do anything for quickscoping. And this is going to be like a little bit of a random side note, but I still want to mention it because it's relevant to the close quarters gunfights. If you're using an SMG or an assault rifle, you really should start hip firing as soon as you see the enemy in a close quarters situation. You don't need to wait until you're fully ADS to start shooting. You should be hip firing the whole time you're waiting for your sights to come up. And I don't know why very few SMG and assault rifle users do this. They wait until their sights are up until they start shooting, and it causes them to lose a lot of gunfights. Start hip firing as soon as you see the enemy while you're bringing your sights up. This is a huge advantage that other guns have over sniper rifles in close quarter situations. All right, let's get into the next comment now. This one comes from a guy named Scott, and he says, I'd like to see you do well against some good quickscopers while using the BAR and M1928. I'm only halfway through the video, but I saw one guy quickscope and he didn't appear to be that good. I think being quickscoped is frustrating because it's a sniper, but I don't play COD for realism. So I think this is a pretty cool idea. I think it would be really fun to try and go up against a team of really good quickscopers while using the BAR or some other type of gun. And if you guys think that's a good idea as well, leave a comment down below and let me know that you want to see me do it. And I'll kind of judge based on your guys' feedback if I try something like that or not. But my initial thoughts are it would make some pretty good content, and I think it would help me potentially prove my point as well. So again, if you guys want to see a video like that, leave a comment down below letting me know. I do read every single comment that I get. I told you guys that in my previous video. It's true, I do read every single comment, and as you can see, I'm picking out comments from the previous video to feature in this one, and that took quite a while. Definitely worth it though, and I hope you guys are enjoying this video because it took a lot longer than a regular video to make. Okay, so let's get into the next comment here. It says, nothing wrong with snipers, but the COD community hasn't been able to use snipers as they are now in World War II because of the EXO Movement system, but now sniping is just better and easier. So I think that this is a really good point because I know that a lot of people are not crazy about the EXO Movement or the Advanced Movement or whatever in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare, and it got a lot of players to leave the series and go play something else. I myself was not really interested in EXO Movement at all. I played until about December in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare and basically didn't touch Black Ops 3 or Infinite Warfare. And during that time, I really didn't play a lot of COD at all. I was playing a little bit of Counter-Strike Global Offensive at that time, but in general, not as much video games as I would usually play. And I know a lot of the sniper community, and by the way, I have been involved in like the sniper community in Call of Duty for a pretty long time. Like I've always been into the whole clan thing. I've been making like montages, team-tages, that type of stuff with different teams. And the sniping community, just in general, wasn't super into the Advanced Movement Call of Duty games. Like, I know a lot of hype was generated because of Call of Duty World War II going back to boots on the ground in general, but I think there was particularly large hype for the sniper community because I think the sniper community especially didn't really like the whole EXO Movement thing, which is not really that surprising because, I mean, for me personally, it was kind of like a double whammy because I don't even like futuristic games in general. I don't like Halo and I don't like Destiny and Titanfall and that type of stuff. I just don't like the futuristic setting. World War II is actually my favorite setting, and Call of Duty World at War was my favorite Call of Duty game of all time, which obviously is set in World War II. But of course, on top of that, the EXO Movement or the Advanced Movement really changed the way that sniping worked in Call of Duty because you'd have the enemies flying around all over the place, dashing around in the sky, and it turned into like a skeet shooting competition instead of actual sniping. That was like the furthest we've ever got from normal sniping in a Call of Duty game, I feel like, is in the Advanced Movement games. And I just felt like, man, this is not what I signed up for. I don't like this much at all. And as you guys know, I don't like using SMGs and assault rifles and stuff. I just find that extremely boring, and I wasn't super interested in those games. So of course, there's also a lot of snipers who really did like Advanced Warfare, who really did like Black Ops 3, and who really did like Infinite Warfare. And you know, that's okay. Like everybody's entitled to their opinion, and you know, if you're having fun with those games, then more power to you. But I think basically what's happening now is a certain subset of those snipers didn't really want to play the Advanced Movement games, and now coming back to boots on the ground, they're all back. And the people who are using SMGs and assault rifles are just getting hit with a lot more snipers than they're used to because, assuming this is the case, there's more snipers around now. I felt like it was pretty apparent in Modern Warfare Remastered that there is a lot of snipers on that game, probably because the snipers who would have been playing Infinite Warfare were over on Modern Warfare Remastered and running around in there. And that's actually kind of what I did. I played Modern Warfare Remastered rather than Infinite Warfare. I really didn't touch Infinite Warfare, but I had to buy it because Modern Warfare Remastered was being sold as a pre-order bonus for Infinite Warfare. I only played put like 12 minutes of playtime into Infinite Warfare and realized it wasn't for me, and then I just played Modern Warfare Remastered for the rest of the year. So to circle back to that comment, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if part of the problem here is there's just more snipers online playing Call of Duty World War II than there usually has been in the previous jetpack Call of Duty games. And if that is the case, well, hopefully they're not going to make crazy balancing changes due to an influx of complaints about snipers simply because there's more snipers online because they didn't like the jetpack Call of Duty games, but now they're back on the boots on the ground COD. Okay, so moving on to the next comment here, we've got Nicholas, and he says, I wouldn't say overpowered is the right word, but as someone who sucks at sniping, I can say that this game is substantially easier to snipe in than some other games. So if he's referring to previous Call of Duty games like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare, I could definitely see how it might be a little bit easier to snipe in this game compared to the ones where the enemy team is jetpacking all over the place and blasting off all the time in random directions. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But if we're comparing this game to other boots on the ground Call of Duty games like Modern Warfare Remastered, Call of Duty Ghosts, Black Ops 2, I really don't think that the sniping in this game is significantly easier or even really measurably easier at all than those other boots on the ground Call of Duty games. To me, it's really nothing special. You can't hold your breath in this game unless you're using the Mountain Division, and you don't get any aim assist on the sniper rifles that are used for quickscoping, the Kar98k and the Springfield, unless you're using the Mountain Division and you're holding your breath, which is not applicable to quickscoping because holding your breath is only something you do in a situation like this where, you know, you're hard scoping. So quickscoping essentially has no aim assist in this game unless you want to use the Lee Enfield, which nobody uses for quickscoping because the Lee Enfield is not really an effective or relevant sniper rifle to use. So in summary, I would say that I can definitely understand how sniping in this game is easier than Exosuit and like Advanced Movement Call of Duty games like we've had as the main Call of Duty games for the last 3 years. But compared to other boots on the ground Call of Duty games, I don't think it's anything unusual. Okay, so now to move on to the next comment. This one says, you contradict yourself, but give yourself the benefit of the doubt to further prove a point. For instance, you would say that there isn't semi-auto snipers, but then you'd say that there is and claim that they suck. And then he basically says that, you know, I shouldn't be saying that the sniper rifles have no aim assist in this game because the Lee Enfield technically does. So I can see where he's coming from, and to clarify, it's the Kar98k and the Springfield that don't have aim assist. Now, the reason why I only focus on those two snipers is because the carbine here, I only have 1 hour used with that. I only have 3 hours used with the Lee Enfield. And then for the Springfield, I have 3 hours, and then with the Kar98k, I have 1 day and 2 hours. So basically anybody who's into quickscoping, as soon as you unlock the Kar98k, you're pretty much going to continue using that unless you want to switch to the Springfield just for a little bit more variety. The reason why there's such a preference for the Kar98k over the Springfield is because the Springfield has a slower rate of fire. It also has a little bit of a slower scope and speed, but I think it's more the rate of fire that makes the Kar significantly better than the Springfield. I still think it's safe to say that quickscopers in this game generally aren't benefiting from any aim assist, because in order to get aim assist on the Kar98k or the Springfield, you need to be holding your breath with the Mountain Division. I'm not even using the Mountain Division in this video, but you know, you could be using the Mountain Division and holding your breath to get some aim assist, but then that wouldn't be quickscoping because you're not going to be holding your breath if you're quickscoping. Aim assist is so irrelevant to quickscoping that basically nobody is using the Lee Enfield instead of the Kar98k or the Springfield if they want to have this quickscoping type of playstyle. The Lee Enfield is there if you want to use it. It has the aim assist, but quickscoping is not an abusive aim assist like people who don't snipe tend to think. That's why the sniping community is quickscoping just fine using the Kar98k and Springfield, even though they're not benefiting from aim assist. So again, I think just overall, the lack of aim assist on the Kar98k and the Springfield now, which is basically a result of community feedback saying that they need to take the aim assist off of sniper rifles and everything like that, it just demonstrates a lack of understanding of what quickscoping is, because everybody's quickscoping just fine with these guns. They actually show preference to the Kar98k and the Springfield basically all the time over the Lee Enfield, which actually does have the aim assist. And this is why we can't trust the opinions of people who don't usually snipe when they're making major changes to the sniper rifles. And I would hope that, again, going back to the point about like the scope in speed thing, they consider, you know, what's going on with the sprint out times before making any changes to something like scope in speed, because going right to the scope in speed, to me, it kind of demonstrates a lack of understanding of the problem. All right, so moving on to the next comment here. This one's from Kiro Shiro, and he says, I believe that most people who are upset about quickscoping are those who feel emotional about getting killed by a sniper rifle in general and believe that the game should be more realistic. Therefore, having the ideology that quickscoping shouldn't shouldn't be in the game. Others are those who get upset about being taken out by a sometimes lucky or skillful shot from a sniper. Most base their opinions off getting killed by a sniper. They don't try it out for themselves. They don't look at the obvious stats that can sway the verdict like you did with killing time, and they don't consider their own position in the game and say, maybe it was me that was in the wrong spot, or I tried to challenge them when they had an aim advantage over the line of sights compared to my weapon. Okay, so I think he made a lot of good points here. One of them was that a lot of players feel like the sniping should be more realistic. I see players talking about this all the time, saying that the sniping is not realistic, and I really don't see the problem with that. I don't think the sniping is supposed to be realistic. I don't think Call of Duty in general is supposed to be realistic. There's not a whole lot that's actually realistic about this game. He also said that most players probably base their opinion just off of getting killed by snipers, and I would agree with that too. Of course, I don't necessarily have numbers to back that up or anything, but it definitely feels like a lot of people just kind of get emotional about getting killed by a sniper, and therefore they say that, you know, snipers are too powerful, and they don't try sniping themselves and, you know, try to mess around with the sniper rifles and quickscoping a little bit. That's why I actually recommended watching the quickscoping tutorial if you're unfamiliar with quickscoping. And actually there's the third split quad feed, I think, of this gameplay. But yeah, definitely I think people should try sniping and quickscoping before they say that things need to be changed in terms of like weapon balance, because trying to suggest weapon balancing changes blindly doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So what I thought was another really good point from Kiroshiro here was when he said, and they don't consider their own position in the game, as to say, maybe it was me that was in the wrong spot, or I tried to challenge them when they have an advantage over the line of sights compared to my weapon. So I think this is a huge point. I see this all the time where somebody will post a clip of them getting killed by a sniper, but not evaluate what they did wrong. So in this case here, it says, what happens when you challenge a shotgun in close quarters? It's a Springfield, not an actual shotgun, but he gets killed close quarters by Springfield, which by the way has a pretty slow scope in time, 400 milliseconds. He really should have won that gunfight, but he missed the first 5 bullets without hitting the sniper. That's the problem. It's not something wrong with the sniper rifle, it's the fact that you missed 5 bullets in a row before landing a shot. Yet when people post that kind of stuff online, it gets tons of upvotes on Reddit or tons of retweets on Twitter, or, you know, tons of people will agree with those types of posts, and it's not logical. The developers looking at that, by the way, that was on the official subreddit of Call of Duty World War II, where the developers are supposed to be looking for feedback, and you get that type of stuff. Well, it doesn't make sense to make any balancing changes based on that type of clip, because clearly the person who is using the assault rifle there missed 5 bullets and caused a death to a sniper in a close quarter situation where the sniper had to take 400 milliseconds to even scope in to take the shot. So I definitely agree, a lot of players don't evaluate to think, you know, what could I have done better in that situation to have not died, and that causes a lot of feedback that doesn't make sense, that the developers are actually taking and making changes with, because that's what they've got. These are some of the most vocal players saying this type of stuff, and this type of stuff actually turns into sniper nerfs that make no sense. In my previous video, Call of Duty World War II Sniping is not overpowered, I showed you guys a little bit more of what people are saying. I showed you like some screenshots of forum posts that were popular, and I showed you guys like some of the thumbnails of videos, and I even took an audio clip of somebody saying, you know, they need to nerf the snipers in Call of Duty World War II. So it's very widespread. I really don't think I'm exaggerating. A lot of people are just spamming the developers every day saying that sniper rifles need to be nerfed and that they're too powerful, and I would hope that me doing videos like this provides you know, decent opposition to all that, because I really don't think it's logical. I would think, you know, if you're watching this far into the video, you probably agree with me to some extent, or maybe I've helped to change your opinion a little bit, which is another purpose for these types of videos, as I want to take people who are absolutely, no matter what, like always been against sniping, and hopefully try to change some opinions, because I think the reason why people hold some of the opinions they do about quickscoping and snipers in Call of Duty games is just because they don't know any better and they just need some more information about the topic. They probably don't snipe that much themselves, and because of that, any feedback they give is just going by kind of like a gut reaction, and if we can break it down and really look at what's going on, I think, you know, that improves some things, and hopefully we don't get weapon balancing changes that are the result of, you know, of emotion, and, you know, like that emotion of players getting quickscoped and not liking it, but based on actually what would make the most sense. Again, if you've agreed with some of the things that I've said in this video, I would really appreciate if you would leave a like on the video. It does help me out a lot. It helps my channel grow and the video get spread out to more people, which also is going to help more people get informed about all this type of stuff that we're trying to talk about here. And if you want to see more videos like this, just make sure that you're you're subscribed, because depending on, any responses I get on this video, I might keep going on this topic. I've got a lot of other stuff planned too, though. I'm going to go more in depth into some of the quick scoping tutorial stuff, show you different tips and strategies for using the sniper rifles in this game that were not covered in the quick scoping tutorial that I did, going just a little bit more in depth with it. So I think there's a lot of good stuff to come that you guys may be interested in if you like sniping in Call of Duty. So a really big thank you to everybody who's just taken the time to leave a like on the video. I appreciate you, and thank you to everybody who has subscribed. You won't be disappointed. Now again, if you guys haven't checked out the original Call of Duty World War II quick scoping tutorial yet, I'll put that on the screen in just a moment, as well as the previous video, so the Call of Duty World War II Sniping is Not Overpowered video. Highly recommend that you check those two out. And you can see on the screen here now 124 kills, 60 kills in the first match, 64 kills in the second match. I really was trying to win the game, but there was a lot of noobs on both sides that made it kind of unpredictable. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys soon with a new video. Peace.